My name is Jason JROCK Houston, and this is Chaotic Riffs Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriffs.com. Our special guest tonight is singer Wade Black from the Florida-based band Clockwork Revolution. How you doing tonight, Wade?
I am hanging in there, brother. Every day is always metal, man.
Yeah. Now, I wanna thank you because actually the reason we're doing this interview is I had originally posted another interview with Sean Peck about his project, the Three Tremors. Are you a huge Sean Peck fan?
I am a huge Sean Peck fan. I will definitely say that. I've known Sean a long time. His band Cages, he's been working on for quite a while. The first time that I actually had contact with him was Crimson Glory was playing Prog Power, and Sean was one of the guest singers on there. Of course, Nose K. Roo and numerous other singers were involved with that. But between Sean and Nils, they were definitely top of everybody that performed there. So yes.
Now you mentioned Crimson Glory, which of course featured Tyler Roo, who's now the singer of Queensryche. I understand you were in Crimson Glory before him. So how long were you with the band, and kind of what led to your departure?
Well, I was with the band ever since 1999, when we originally started recording the demos for that band, and which in turn turned into us signing a record deal once again with Crimson Glory, of course, 30 years strong, and the rest is pretty much history. You're offered a gig.
You take it, of course. Yeah, who wouldn't? Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, who wouldn't take a gig like that, right?
Well, I mean, it was a dream come true for me, because I had originally met John Drenning probably 3 or 4 years before I had actually got the Crimson Glory gig. He had saw me sing one night with my band Lucian Black, and he wrote my name down on a napkin, and he put it in the back of this drawer, and he shut it. So he did not see this message that he wrote for like 4 or 5 years after that. And then one day, it was funny, he said he found this piece of napkin with my name in it, and he'd always told the bass player, Jeff, he said, this is going to be the next singer for Crimson Glory. So it's pretty funny that when he first called me, he said, this is John Drenning from Crimson Glory, and I hung up on him.
Wow.
And then he had called me back, and he goes, this is John Drenning from Crimson Glory, And then we started talking back and forth. And then I went and originally actually auditioned for the band in the middle of a living room in Tampa, Florida here. So it was funny that me auditioning that night, the planets were aligned, everything was good, and that, I got to the dream of a lifetime. I won the musical lottery, kind of, in a sense.
Wow. And so what led to you leaving the band?
Well, you know what? I think that it's kind of like a marriage that when you're in it for so long and that you're so used to hearing the negative side of kind of what's going on in a sense.
Just time to move on.
Band. Yeah. And it just comes down to, you just kind of get ridden down a little bit. You give your 100%, and they're always kind of negative-ish. Not that it was always like that, because it was a wonderful time. It was the most wonderful time of my career. But actually kind of getting, kind of like negative from the management and everything else. And, I could go on hours about this.
Let me ask you, on that level, did you ever get like a lot of guys that replace, the original singer, so to speak, where it's the new guy, it's his fault that people aren't buying the album because we got the new guy here, or was any of that going?
I think in a sense that I brought a new sense of life to the band when I joined. When you're replacing a irreplaceable singer, to me, Midnight was the epitome of what we do. He was the epitome of every singer that wants to emulate their feelings and stuff into songs and stuff. So I was lucky enough to be the one to go and be his apprentice. I was never his replacement because I could never replace somebody that was as talented as Midnight. So let me make that a point.
Oh, okay.
So,
wow, that's a good way of looking at it.
Go ahead.
That's a good way of looking at it. I never thought of looking at it like that. Yeah.
You can never, because when you're replacing somebody that's irreplaceable, as such as Midnight, somebody who were able to emulate all of the emotions that he did within his songs and stuff. This is not something that you can. It's kind of like being cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that you can just pick up and do. You know, you kind of just have to have this within yourself.
Yeah.
So, you know, to be able to come in and do that was a dream come true for me. So, you know, I took it and I ran with it. It was able. People were going to chew me up, or they were going to love me, and in turn, they loved me, and I thought that was the most coolest thing in the world. So.
And now, you mentioned that some of the members were kind of aware of who you were before you actually joined the band. Were you a huge fan of Crimson Glory before you joined the band, or did you become more of a fan after you joined?
Was already a fan of Crimson Glory, had already known of them. Of course, living in the same towns that we live in and stuff, we all know who's up and coming, who's going down, and of course, Crimson Glory was always on the rise. You know, great band. I had always taken vocal lessons from the same guy that Midnight had done, which in turn was the same teacher that had taught and Nancy Wilson from Heart.
Oh wow!
So we're all in the same. You know, with them learning the correct things to do and stuff, we were always in that same circle. So
that's amazing. Now, when you did make the decision to leave Crimson Glory, you know, like you said, it's just kind of time to move on. But did you have were any nerves involved, like, or did you thought, well, I'm just going to go and going to join another band, going to form another band, or move on to the next thing?
I had numerous things at that particular time, being the singer with Crimson Glory. I had numerous things to do, so it was kind of just within my own personal choice to choose the next best thing to. So I ended up joining Seven Witches with Jack Frost out of New Jersey, and we had actually signed with Sanctuary Records.
Oh wow!
Iron Maiden, this and that, Mr. Wolfgang Roth, and CMM, and everything that he has going on over in Germany. And it was just the most natural choice that I could make within, you know, staying within the business, keeping my career going forward. And we actually scored a 6-week tour with Annihilator over in Europe. Most successful, Seven Witches record was most successful overall on that label. And to tell you the truth, and I'm just God blessed to actually be able to move on to that next plateau. Wow,
that's amazing. Now I know you also were a part of Leatherwolf at one time. Was that before Crimson Glory or after?
This was after, actually, Crimson Glory. This was 2006.
Okay.
This was briefly right after the Seven Witches tenure ended.
Yeah.
And then I ended up auditioning for Leatherwolf, and there were probably 5 or 6 other singers that were involved. I won't divulge any names, but you can figure the best of the metal singers wanted to get in for this gig, because I mean, you're talking about a band that's 30 years old.
Yeah, I will say this. I actually went on when I was reading up on you. I actually went on Leatherwolf's Wikipedia, and you are obviously listed there as one of the former members. So that's a pretty cool thing. Now, Leatherwolf is the guy that's actually played band. Got to ask. To me, they're one of these bands that like you said, they've been around for about 30 years now, and they're one of those bands that have never was able to really get to the next level, but they're able to still tour that just based on the name alone these days.
I think that it is because of the stable job that they did on the earlier releases. That the music that they created was so substantial, so groundbreaking at that particular time. That I mean, these bands paved the road for the road that we drive on now.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking back in the 80s and this and that. So when you write such good records, and even if you do listen to the record that I was on, World Asylum, actually listen to that from front to back and actually listen to, and I'm just not so much patting myself on the back. This is me and the original guitar player, Jed Geyer, that put this record together and made this record work, because we had the #2 record in Europe, and all of Europe. I think Devin Townsend from Strapping Young Lads actually beat us out for #1 record.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Now, yeah.
And it's just an amazing record. It's an amazing repertoire. You know, people often ask me, you know, how do you do this? How do you sustain your career? How do you do this and that? You know, it's not that I choose to. It's all that I choose to, you know, further myself within my career and keep a positive attitude, and always wanting to reach that next best place that I need to be within my career. You know, it's not rocket science. You know, so you need to kind of.
Well, I'll tell you, Wade. When I first contacted you, until I'd done a little research on you and went to your site and read up on you, I had no idea that you were a former member of Crimson Glory or Leatherwolf. And when I found that out, I was like, okay, this guy's, you know, I'm quite impressed with this, because this guy's got a little bit of a history. So, and he's doing what he's doing now. And even today as we speak, I initially contacted you about talking about the band Clockwork Revolution, but I see you're also involved with 2 other bands, which we can talk a little bit about. But let's start with Clockwork Revolution. Now, is that your band you put together, where you found other guys, or did you join an existing band?
No, sir. This was actually something I was contacted to come in and write the record lyrically and arrange and so on and so forth. So that's exactly what I did. Was I came in and I wrote the record, and you know, I'm in the band with Patrick Johanson from Yngwie Malmsteen.
Oh, wow!
Which was another plus for me in order to come and do it. I was offered a batch of songs that had no ideas, and I brought life to it, and I gave it a title, and I gave it a name, and I gave it an identity.
Now, when these guys first got in touch with you, I was curious. Did they know anything about you being in Leatherwolf or Crimson Glory, or even Seven Witches, or did they just kind of contact you based on what they knew about your ability as a singer?
No, sir. It's not just my ability and stuff. They had known of all of my background and stuff. So they'd done their homework and stuff, so they'd already know what I've done in the past.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
That's the reason that I got the job, because they knew that I would be able to come and start it and actually finish it, which, you know.
Yeah, well, don't take no offense there. What the point I was trying to make was this. Like I said, me myself, when I first contacted you, I had no idea that you'd played with those bands previously, and then when I learned, I thought, oh wow, this guy's got quite a history here. So a lot of times, like you'll play in bands like that, and people want to hire you for a band, and they'll say, okay, you know, can we make it sound like what you guys did here? But it sounds like the stuff I was hearing on your Facebook page, kind of like it's very fresh. It sounds like what this band is meant to be, if you know what I mean.
If you're not as a musician, and this goes out to everybody, if you're a musician, if you're a starting up musician and stuff, be true to your craft and stuff. Learn what you do. Learn it correctly. Mm-hmm. You know, if you play guitar, you know, learn the way to play guitar. Learn it to the metronome. Learn everything that needs to be to the fact. You know, and that's exactly what I bring to the table every time I sing. I bring something fresh. I bring something new. You know, because if you're not creating as a musician, then you're sitting around with your ass on a stump growing mold on it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean,
what we do.
Yeah.
We take stuff out of the air and we create music. You know, that's what it's about. If you're not creating in music and stuff, then it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, I've always believed, you know, when you're talking about any given band, that, like you said, everybody kind of brings something to the table. I mean, you may have one guy that writes the bulk of his stuff, but you know, the band would not, you know, like even if you just change up a drummer or you get a new bass player, it's not going to be the same group of guys. It's going to be a different influence coming into the band. Anytime you replace, you know, even one member of a band.
I hate the revolving door of musicians within bands. It drives me crazy. You know, I myself when I have to meet somebody else, I have to meet a new attitude. I have to meet a new personality. I have to find out how this guy works, how he's going to work within the band, how he's going to meld with us. And if he doesn't, then that's, just somebody else that I have to get to know, and it just becomes that process of having to go through that again, and it just makes me, not kind of want to do it in a way.
Yeah.
That I wish that I would be able to be with people that want to do the same thing that I want to do, that I want to create. I seem to be, and I don't mean to keep saying I. It's not about me. It's about the music in general. But it seems within my tenure within music, it seems that I am always the driving force in that particular situation that I'm in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like we were talking about Sean Peck, earlier. He's another one of these guys that,
Sean is the same way. We are cut from the same metal cloth. Me, Sean Peck, Nils K. Rue, we are singers. Kelly Sundown Carpenter. Yes, these are the same people that are in the same thing that we do. This is, I don't know.
I mean, like the point I was making with Sean Peck is he's got like 4 or 5 different bands going on at one time, and yet somehow like Cage sounds nothing like the Three Tremors. He played with some of the guys that used to play with King Diamond and Denver and Sherman, and the point being is
he's an innovator. This is what we do.
Yeah.
He comes in and he takes over that project. He has an overall vision of what we want to do. I just talked with Snowy Shaw.
Uh-huh.
And the same thing is what he does is different from way other than what he does, because he has the grand scheme of what he wants to perceive, what he wants to do. He has the vision.
Yeah. I mean, even a drummer like Carmine Appice, I mean, he's more than just a drummer. And I've actually interviewed Carmine before, and he told me the thing with him has always been, and if you look at anything he's done, he's a drummer, but he does not sit at the back, just at the back of the stage. He told me my thing is, I want to make people look at me. I want to bring the drums into the front of the stage, so to speak. I want to, be just as much a part of a show as the lead singer,
Absolutely. Well, that's what you need to shoot for. I mean, we all want to be soloed. We all want to have the spotlight put on them. But sometimes it's just not the case. So when you have the time to shine, it's when the need to shine.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
And that brings me to my next question. Like I said, you're a part of like 2 other bands now. I'd imagine again working with different musicians and different projects, that allows you the freedom kind of get your creative juices out, and you have several things to keep you busy. Is that part of the reason for being involved like in 3 bands at one time?
Yep. Well, it is. I always stress this, that if you take a bigger bite, it makes you work a little bit harder. So I want to be inspired.
Yeah.
I actually want to have something to write about. It's something that I want to write about, which is a lot of the times, because a lot of the times it's forced writing, and you can tell once you hear that final recording and it's like, that's crap. That was forced. I want to be so natural that you don't even, when you listen to it, it's just like part of you. It's part of what you do. It just flows, and it's magic, and it's what we do. It's what we try to do. If you don't put magic in every one of your songs and stuff, then you need to stop.
I mean, it's like you're saying, like, for example, I mean, part of it might be your influences coming out, but like you have a band going to the studio and they'll be talking and say, let's have a Sabbathy vibe. Let's sound like Pantera, and you can kind of tell, like you're saying, when that's pre-planned or that's it's kind of forced. Whereas opposed to you just go in and you write your own original stuff. You like, okay, this is who we are, and we're just going to do our thing, and whatever comes out, this is who we are.
That should be a part of every band. Is keep your identity. For Christ's sakes, don't ever fucking put out something that's going to be a safety net, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And this is a lot of the bands. This is something that makes me kind of pissed off. That once you make this, that the record labels try to make you more commercialized to where they can sell more fucking records to where they're going to make more money. But that's not the point. The point is making music. And this is the thing that this is what we do. We'll slow that down. If you listen to my current band right now, War of Thrones, we didn't want to make an over-processed, over-production record. We wanted to make a straight metal record that's just raw as fuck. I don't care. This is what it is. We want it to be as raw as we possibly can. We want you to hear the string scrapes. We want you to hear all the imperfections and stuff. We're not trying to put out that perfect record. Mm-hmm. We're trying to put out a classic metal record, which I think that we've done.
And so, like, let's talk a little bit about War of Thorns that you just brought up. You mentioned you guys have a CD. How long has the CD been out, and can people actually buy a physical copy?
CD has been out for the last year, yes, sir. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on iTunes. You can buy it. It's worldwide distro on this right now.
Oh, okay. Cool.
War of Thrones is actually opening here, local in Tampa. If you're here local, come and see the show that we're playing with SAXON.
Oh,
SAXON
cool.
SAXON has one Florida show here. War of Thrones actually had to be SAXON approved in order to open for SAXON, which was funny for me.
Wow.
Because I'd actually gotten the call to say that SAXON management approved for you guys to open for him.
Wow.
And to me, that was amazing. You know,
yeah, that's
these
gotta
guys
be a
are
great
pro.
feeling, yeah.
They've been pro forever and ever. So for me to have a chance to come and play with SAXON is a dream come true. I can mark something off my bucket list.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
So let me make this fact clear. So this is the first time in 20 years since I've entered into the professional realm that I take my band. I'm not a hired-on singer in Crimson Glory and Leatherwood.
Yeah.
This is my own band that I now 20 years take over with much satisfaction over to Europe. So this is on my own gas. This is something that I've worked for. And, you know, it's just a wonderful feeling to me, and it just tickles me inside to be able to go back over to Europe again and to see all the fans that I've had the chance to meet, you know, heartfelt, and see them again after 20 years.
Okay, so I guess War of Thorns is kind of like, it's your baby. You said your band, and you write a good portion of its stuff. Now, with Clockwork Revolution, I was curious, do you see yourself as more of a hired gun, where you just hired specifically to, you know, write the lyrics and kind of do the album, or is that going to be a full-time gig as well?
I'm the one and only singer that they have. If they think that they can go and find somebody else better, then they're more than able to go on ahead and you know.
I hear you. And where are you guys with the recording of the album? Is that something that's still in the process?
Clockwork Revolution record's already been recorded. It's out. You can go and get that on iTunes and Amazon and anything of that nature. I have heard no other further information on what that does in the future. Patrick Johanson's busy with Bill Hudson right now from Udo.
Okay.
And so on and so forth with a band called Northtail. And, you know, of course, I'm pursuing the War of Thrones. So, I mean, if I get the phone call and somebody wants to do a show, then you let me know what time to show up.
I hear you. And now, in regards to the album you did with them, what was the process like recording? Like, were you guys all in the same room together, or did you kind of record your vocals separately?
I will tell you a story real quick. I had shown up for the first recording sessions, and I wanted to hear what kind of vocal ideas that they had, if any. They showed me half a song, and they said that they had no other vocal parts or anything that were written. I asked somebody for a notebook and a piece of paper, and I actually wrote from scratch, from start until we actually finished the record. That way, each song that we had done, not in the studio, but more so just me writing it.
Wow.
They sent me the music ideas. I took them. I made the arrangements. I wrote the songs, the lyric, and everything, and placed it together. Flew down to Miami, recorded probably maybe 10, 12 hours of vocals. Finished it. They took it. They edited it.
Mm-hmm.
They put it together. They put it down on CD. It went and got mastered, and it got released.
Oh, and so what did you think of the final product? I mean, that's got to be an interesting process to do it like that.
I thought that as you're coming up with the ideas on a fly, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I like the placement of them. Actually, when they took them and they actually produced them and actually arranged them to where they put them more in time with what the song was. Of course, it's an original idea.
Yeah.
So some of the stuff that I was laying down wasn't quite in time with, but they took it and they put it in time and they made it sound like a record.
Yeah.
And it sounded amazing. I was actually totally enamored and happy with the final production.
Oh, that's cool. Now, let me ask you, the very last thing I want to talk about is you're also involved with the Priest, which I understand is a Judas Priest tribute band, which I'm a fan of tribute bands for a simple fact that, that's pretty big out here in L.A. where I'm from, and I kind of look at it as rock and roll theater. Now, do you guys actually dress up like the band, the original band, or do you?
We don't. The band does not. I do. I have the hat. I have the 70s glasses and everything. And you will not hear a better tribute band than what we do between Rob Halford, of course, Bruce Dickinson, and so on and so forth. Back when I was younger, were the major influences that I had as I was growing up. So it's only a natural progression for me to do like a Priest tribute band. It's absolutely amazing. If you've never seen it, you'll be totally blown away, and you'll leave without your hair.
Do you guys just do the classic stuff, or do you do any newer stuff, or touch on the Owens?
No, we pretty much stick to the older stuff. Anything from rock and roll on up. But we don't do too much new stuff. I've actually like to do maybe some of the fight stuff. You know,
that'd be interesting.
But yeah, other than that, we stick to the older stuff.
And now, is that a band you had going, or did you again join an existing band? Because my next question is going to be like, when you got approached about doing the tribute band, did you have any reservations, or did you go into like, oh, this is a fun thing to do?
I actually went into it. It was just a fun thing to do. There was never any thinking about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love Priest so much, and I'm able to emulate anything that Rob's recorded to correct standards.
That's a cool attitude to have, because a lot of musicians, they do get flack for playing in tribute bands. A lot of people have a belief like, oh, these are failed musicians, they're just playing other people's tunes. But I would think that as you being a musician, it's a great way to keep up your chops, to do your other bands,
True. I say, if you do not play in a band and you don't know a lot about music, because I had told another interviewer, and I go, do you play instruments? Do you know anything? Because he's telling me, I don't like you, I don't like what you do, and this and that, and I'm just like, wow.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that way, because you're talking to a guy here. With me, I'm not a musician, so I kind of I have that same kind of thought process, which is this.
But the way that you say the things that you do, like you're not condescending, you're not you carry on your conversation within. I can understand this, and I can answer your questions within an honest. I can tell you're not pretentious. You're not trying to be an asshole.
Well, that's why I try to come across in the sense of what I was getting ready to say is, I'm not a musician. I'm more of a music fan, so I do have respect for anybody that can get up there on stage and do what they do, because I sure can't do that. So I kind of feel you that hey man, unless you can get up on stage and sing and do what I do, don't criticize it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, we do what we do. Listen, we record the music for ourselves. Yeah. So, but the bonus is, if other people dig it, this is where we get our fans. This is our lives, experiences and stuff. This is something that we write about for ourselves.
Yeah.
So if you guys dig it, then that's our off.
Yeah.
Our off is not fucking riding 16 hours in a fucking bus to get to the next fucking venue. That's not what we want to do. It's very boring, and unless you have a hobby.
Yeah,
and still, this is the hour that we have on stage every night. This is what we do. This is what we live for.
Yeah, and even when I contacted you, I initially contacted you just for the simple fact that liked an interview I posted that I did with Sean Peck, and then I said, oh wait, this guy's in a couple of bands. I'm going to check out what he's about. And then initially I came across the Clockwork Revolution website, and then I found out you were in these other bands. I said, oh, okay, wow, this guy's involved in all of this. So, I'd be interested in hearing what this guy's all about, hearing what his story is. And we all have a story. We all have a story to tell. And even getting back to the tribute scene out here in LA, the tribute scene has just blown up. I mean, you got bands like the Iron Maidens. It's an all-female.
I see that these chicks are every fucking where. What's going on with that?
They've taken it around the world, man. They've taken it to Russia. They've taken it to Mexico. It's amazing. I know. Yeah, it's amazing.
And congratulations to those girls. It all comes down to marketing, promotion.
Yeah.
That if you want to do it the correct way, you can get in touch with people that can help you further your career. It's true.
And like you said, you can build an audience off of it. For people to go, let them know, hey, I'm going to be playing with War Thorns. Tomorrow night, come and check out the show. And the great thing too about being in a tribute band, I would think, is a lot of guys I've interviewed told me, you know what? A lot of times they will come to our show, and they've maybe heard, like in your case, your Judas Priest tribute, maybe they've heard Living After Midnight a million times on the radio, but they're not as familiar with, the Green Man Alicia or something off of Rock-A-Rolla, like you were saying. And you get to hear people experience these songs for the first time, and then on the flip side, again, this is like Judas Priest is the soundtrack to a lot of people's when they were growing up,
their entire life. And even if you've never seen Judas Priest, you can come and see us and see the whole thing.
And it's almost like, you know what? That takes me back to when I heard "Breaking the Law" for the first time on the radio. Man,
For the first time, yeah. And it just brings you back. It kind of seems like with me that I've sang with Crimson Glory.
Yeah.
So every time I hit the stage, I'm held to that standard.
Yeah, yeah.
And as well that I should. People want to be entertained. They want to come and see a show. They just don't want to come and, pay the money and see nothing, and leave, unhappy. Every time that I get on stage, I want to bring that show, and I want to bring that entertainment, and I want to bring that excitement to them. So that's something that I'm empowered with. And if you ever talk to me before a show, I'm so nervous that you can't even talk to me. Ask my wife.
And see that,
I still, even after 20 years, I still have butterflies. I still love it. It still makes me nervous, and it empowers me, And if you're not nervous and you've gotten used to it, then you're jaded. You're just an asshole.
And you make a great point because like Judas Priest, for example. Again, I'm not a musician, so people can say what they want about people that play in tribute bands being failed musicians, playing other people's tunes, but I even to that I say, you know what? I can't get up on stage and sing, "Living After Midnight" or "Breaking the Law" or whatever. Even to do that, it takes a certain level of talent to either be able to sing that or play that stuff on the guitar. So
sure.
People just
absolutely.
are missing that.
I've just got big balls.
Yeah. And but very
and I'm Irish, and my mom's from Kentucky, so I'm Irish and half redneck.
Oh, there you go.
That kind of gives you the reason of why I'm able to get up on that.
Yeah. Now, while we're on the subject of Priest, I was curious, since you're a guy who plays in a Priest tribute, what would you say is your overall? Do you have a favorite Priest album?
God, I would say "Screaming for Vengeance."
Yeah, there you go. That can never go wrong there.
And that's just the epitome of what they do. The highlight of their career. Of course, they've had a long career. In my mind, I would have liked to have seen them do maybe a little bit better job on the last records that they've created. Even though it's classics and stuff, it almost kind of seems dated in a sense. You know what I'm saying? But to me, Rob is the epitome of, and ever since they've lost KK and Glenn, brother, to me, it just kind of takes the wind all the way out of my sails about Judas Priest, and with my deepest sympathies and stuff. I love that band, but it just goes to show that time tells. Within a band, and it's amazing.
Like you point out about KK and Glenn no longer being there. A lot of people think, as long as they got Halford, and even as a great talent as Halford is, you fail to realize that the other two guys, they were part of the writing team for all those years, and
they were all the writing team. I cannot see him, and God bless Roy Z and everybody that's ever been within Rob Halford and Judas Priest and everybody that's helped him write Fight Records and everybody that's helped him do Judas Priest and stuff, you know, it kind of seems like it almost kind of get run down at a sense, you know, for me. And I mean, God bless them, dude. This is the epitome of what I do. This is the epitome of metal. These are metal gods that we're talking about. They're just not regular people to me. They're gods.
Yeah, speaking of metal gods, you know, I asked you about your favorite album. I go between back and forth between Screaming for Vengeance and British Steel. Now, in regards to British Steel, you know, that's a lot of pop stuff people consider, radio stuff. Do you consider that like a really polished album, or what's your thoughts on British Steel?
I you know, honestly think that's the most raw record that you could ever hear, and you can hear every element of every single thing that they do. You know, I had watched a video of KK and Glenn, and they were like, well, how did it all start? And it was like, gung, 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 gung. And then KK fucking comes in with the second guitar, and it's just like, gung, gung, gung.
I think I seen the same thing. I think I seen the same DVD in the.
And then you add on.
Yeah. And they were talking about they recorded like at John Lennon's house in England, and all the stuff on Metal Gods, all the sound you hear, it's actual like kitchen utensils and stuff they were playing with. Hello?
Yeah, are you still there?
I was just saying, I watched the same DVD, I think, about the British Steel album, and they were talking about how they recorded it at John Lennon's house in England, and they used all these cutlery and kitchen utensils to make the sounds on Metal Gods.
Wonderful. It all sounded good.
Yeah.
I love it all.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed talking to you today, Wade. I'm gonna send this interview off to my the guy who posts the stuff on the site, and probably in another week or two it'll get posted. Once it does, feel free to post on any of your sites. And what I'd like to do now is like I'm gonna check out the other band, War of Thorns, and I'd like to get the CD. When I do a follow-up interview, really to just pump that up and talk in great detail about that.
And I appreciate you asking about War of Thrones. Like I said, we're open for SAXON. We had just confirmed Sabaton.
Oh, wow.
So we'll be going over to Sweden here in August, Sabaton Open Air Festival. Udo Dirkschneider headlines the whole thing. Apocalyptica and numerous other bands that play with this. You know, I'm clawing my way back to the top, step by step.
Well, there you go.
And we're on the right road to where we want to go. So.
Okay, well, I'm a fellow metalhead, so like I said, let's keep in touch, and anytime you want to do this again, let's do it again. And